Tonight, we're digging into Canada's trade war crisis and asking some tough questions. Are we being fooled by fake Canadian labels? Also, is the booze boycott helping us discover Canadian spirits and boosting our distillers? And can Ottawa's New Buy Canadian plan really help to protect us from U.S. tariffs? From Montreal, I'm Eddie Tekalik.
And I'm Gary MacDonald. This is Night Talk, episode 50. Honest, unfiltered Canadian. The conversation we should be having starts now. Well, more products, Eddie, are being pushed at us as marketed as Canadian. And here we go. But are they really Canadian? This is the question. From maple leaves on labels to patriotic branding, are shoppers being duped by the retailers? Or is it just smart marketing? You have no idea what's going on right now. No idea.
I'm having some technical issues here again. Must be my part. Okay now, so yeah, so you 100%, Gary. I've been duped, and I think you've been duped as well in the grocery stores, haven't you?
Yeah, on more than one occasion, for sure. And
what are you gonna do? I mean, it comes down to, how honest do retailers and how honest do store managers want to be while trying to sustain profits amidst, while we're in this middle of this tariff fiasco. And I've had my experiences with incorrect labeling, and I think you have as well. And as a consumer, I am not happy when that happens. I would prefer them to just be outright and honest and use the proper labeling, right, as opposed to trying to just price gouge because it's a product of Canada, or in some cases, Gary, these people have a huge load of inventory that says "Made in the USA" on it, and they're stuck with it.
It's really, I think, more than anything, taking advantage of a situation, and I'm not a happy camper when I see that kind of foolishness. I don't think it's marketing. I think it's cloaked stealing, to be quite honest. They're stealing from you in the fact that they're charging you the price that you would pay for a Canadian-made product.
Right.
And so they're making an extra margin on it. And not only that, but they're also taking away, your trust, your level of trust and confidence in the whole system.
Right.
Unfairly, to others who are actually putting Canadian goods out and selling Canadian goods and doing it in a straightforward manner. Like, if you have to stoop that low to try and make a few extra bucks on the bottom line, then maybe you shouldn't be in business at all, because if all of a sudden you lose those extra couple of bucks that you're making while you're duping your customers, once that dries up at some point, you're going to fail anyway, because if you're weak going into it, you're going to be weak on the other side after the bump is over, because obviously you haven't learned how to operate a business and run a fine line. So I think there's a level of trust there. We as I said, we're paying more for perceived Canadian-made goods. The risk of misleading practices eroding trust, like I just said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is there's a wave now starting where consumers are starting to push for stricter labeling rules to protect authentic Canadian producers, as we should. We should be trying to protect our producers, especially right now, with everything that we're going through with the United States and its trading policies.
Of course.
So I think that they're doing not only their customers a disservice, but they're doing themselves a disservice to put a couple of extra bucks on the bottom line. And when you get into the big retailers like, your Loblaws and your Sobeys and your Metros. Like, really?
Unacceptable.
Yeah, come on.
Unacceptable, really. When you're looking at the big ones out there I mean, if they're really trying to squeeze a buck out of Canadian citizens while the entire country is struggling to adapt its economics around our Agent Orange tariffs, it is just, it's not right. It's almost to a point. I know it's probably just a dream, but you almost want the government to intervene to prevent some of this price gouging, especially in a difficult time like this, right? I mean, you and I have seen it during COVID. A lot of these retailers were actually price gouging as well, right?
Well, yeah, and there are some regulations, and there have been a number of complaints filed with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which handles these types of things. And out of the complaints that have been filed so far, a number of investigations have been carried out. But here's the thing. The investigations that were carried out, there was not one fine handed out. There was discussions, and
and if there were fines, what, $50? I mean,
yeah, but there weren't.
$50 fine, big deal.
Yeah, but there weren't. It was, I guess, how the bureaucrats would call it, an educational process. Well, you know what? They don't need an educational process. They need to be slapped with fines. There's no misunderstanding. If somebody's working with you, or you're in the store and you're working, and you pick up something and you can read on the label yourself that it's not made in Canada, not prepared in Canada, not anything in Canada other than being sold in Canada, and you slap a label over it, or a label on the little price ticker beside it saying it's Canadian. And how many people actually, well, a lot more people are starting now to read the labels for sure. But when you do that, really, are you that lazy? Are you that hell-bent on making a couple of extra bucks along the way? So I think the government has to start really clamping down on these people. Really clamping down on these people, and without any sort of educational process. That's, to me, is just a sham. Just a major sham.
You know what? We're avid supporters of the Buy Canadian movement ever since January, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to walk into a major chain grocery store, and I mean, just give a typical example, and it's at the same grocery store on two separate occasions. I was buying sweet peppers. I like chopping up sweet peppers for my breakfast and whatnot, right? And it was a particular brand. And the first thing, of course, we do is we take a look at the labeling on the package, and on it it said product of Mexico. Okay, you know what? If we can't find Canadian, we'll go international, right? We'll try to avoid American product.
Right.
So we pulled out Canada, which is an app on our phone, and we scanned the barcode, and lo and behold, product of the United States. And we were completely floored. So I very diligently put the product back, and I bought it from some other place. A couple of weeks later, same grocery store. Looked at the same it was the same brand of peppers, packaged peppers. This time, this thing had a Made in Canada sticker in the same spot where the Made in product of Mexico sticker was. Now we got a product of Canada. I didn't even have to scan it. Okay, and I perused the entire package again. It didn't say Made in the United States anywhere, but the app itself was basically telling you it was the product came from the United States of America. Yet the grocer put a Made in Canada sticker on there. Now, of course, I sent a harsh letter to the management of this particular grocery chain, chastising them and saying, you guys are cheats. I'm a Canadian citizen here. I expect if there's a product that says if you're selling something that says product of Canada or made in Canada or whatever else, that's what I am actually expecting. So I didn't file a complaint with the local government regulatory body, but I'm just one example of maybe tens of thousands that have gone through this and experienced it that have not filed a complaint. So that's twice on one particular product within a few weeks that they changed the labeling and put it right over the, I would assume, made in the United States or product of the USA. They put made in product of Canada or product of Mexico. That's just preposterous. I mean, what are we, stupid? Like, I mean, I felt insulted, Gary. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Deborah comes in with this reminder. Grocery stores made record profits during the pandemic, and it is continuing. And they did. And again, we were held hostage. What other options did we have? You know, like you turn these... Well, you turn these situations into an excuse for, as you say, price gouging. Let me point out something here. Under the Food and Drugs Act, between November of last year and mid-July of this year, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency received 97 related complaints, investigated 91, and confirmed 29 violations. Now, that surge highlights the growing consumer vigilance and the regulatory pressure. But again, not one fine. Not one fine handed out.
Wow. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, it's an absolute sham. I really wish that the federal government would put enforcements in place where there are hefty fines. Because this is let's call it for what it is. This is fraudulent. In any other sort of fraudulent case, there typically is a significant penalty that goes along with that. They should be doing the same thing for these major corporations. You know what? If it's good for the small guy who's trying to keep his grocery store open, this little guy, why is it that they don't enforce this with the major chains? And even I think these guys should even get heftier fines than the little guy in the street corner. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous that they would be so underhanded to cheat Canadians in this very difficult time. Very, very sad.
Well, here's the thing that gets me too is one of the excuses that has been used is we have thousands of products coming in to our stores every day. We can't keep track of every... Bullshit. They all have the SKUs, the product codes on them and everything. Then you know what's coming. You know where you're buying it. Right. And the source of origin. You know, like, give me a break. We can't... Well, you know, we have staff on the floor, blah, blah, blah. Well, then maybe take some time, A, pay your staff a decent wage, and secondly, train your staff. And if that means if you keep turning over staff every week so that, you know, your cost of training has gone through the roof, then that's on you because obviously you're not providing a good workplace, a good work environment, and or a decent salary. That's why they're not sticking around. Right. It doesn't take a mental giant to figure that one out. Even I've got that figured out. So this, you know,
well, when you're saying fine, when you say fine, Gary, in your mind, what should that be? What are we talking about here? What do you think?
I'm thinking when you're looking at major corporations, a minimum fine, if you're caught doing this, depending on how widespread it is, or as far as the complaint that's investigated and found to be solid, you know, I think it should start at least $10,000 per incident, and go from there, depending on how widespread it is and everything. And force
that. I would get the media involved.
Oh, absolutely.
And government would come out and publicize what they've done in terms of fines. The media, the mainstream media, and also social media should pick up on that and basically say, company A has just now been fined X amount of money for so many violations and are price gouging. Let me tell you what, in terms of consumers going back to that store, they're going to drop in terms of how many customers are going to be going through the turnstiles. I don't think the $10,000 that much. Customers that decide no longer to shop, as you said earlier on, because of a lack of trust, that's going to hurt them. Start somewhere.
The other issue there, though, is that you very quickly run out of options as to where you can go.
True.
That's
true.
The other issue. You do run out of options very quickly, and one really is no better than the other. Although Loblaws seem to be at the top of the pile, they always seem to be getting themselves into some kind of a fix, whether it's over the pricing of bread or whatever. They're out there, and when you look at their prices, they're really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
All the way around, whether it's Canadian based or produced or whatever. I just find that their prices have gone crazy, and yet the profits they're making, and you hear all the time, and yes, it is. I get that you're running on tight margins in the grocery business because it's so competitive. Really, is it that competitive when you think about it? But anyhow, it's competitive and they're running on tight margins. But let's not forget, behind the scenes, they're beating up their suppliers big time as far as their price is concerned. And then, I don't know if they still do, but I know that for a long time, the number of facings your product had in the big guys stores, especially if it was a very popular product, you were paying for that space for the number of facings.
True.
And they were dictating basically to you pretty much what the retail price was going to be and what you could sell it for and what they were paying you for it.
Yeah.
Now, really, is that what we would call competitive? And like I say, where do you turn? After a while, you run out.
Where do you turn to? Well, I'll tell you honestly, you mentioned Loblaws for one. When they used to be spread out through Montreal, and I don't know if they've actually got a store in Quebec, but I know in Montreal, we went in there to check it out. Okay, Loblaws is pretty big in Canada. Let's go have a look and see. Wow, Gary, we walked in there, bought a couple of things that we needed, and we walked right out because it was, I'm not saying a little more expensive, it was a lot more expensive than some of the other chains. So I think we actually went in there once, maybe twice, because we just happened to be in the area and needed some quick groceries. But the amount of money we spent in there was very, very honestly, I didn't see a lot of people in there, maybe here and there walking up the aisles, but not what you would typically see in some of the other major grocery chains here in Montreal. So they were pretty pricey. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I don't know if they were catering to a select group or a select clientele. Keep the riffraff out. I don't know, but it's certainly just way too expensive for our blood.
There is one product they have that I have not found in any of the other stores to meet my expectations. And so I do take a hike up the hill to the little one across from the Bell Center and pick this up when I need it. And the last time I did that was back late winter or early spring. And at that point, I was expecting it to jump from it was $9.99 for a long time, and I was expecting to see it at about $11.99 at least. To my surprise, and I'll give them full marks for this, it was $9.99. Now, sometime in the next day or two, I have to take that hike up the hill again because we're out, and I can't wait to see what kind of price is on it this trip.
And is it a Loblaws?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen a Loblaws in a long time, so
Well, no,
I
no, not
stand
a
corrected. I
Loblaws.
guess
It's a
no.
Loblaws brand store.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah. So anyway, we'll see. Deborah comes back with, if we can't trust them to be honest with us about where a product is from and pricing, what else are they doing to make money? Oh, a whole lot of things. Like I say, not so long ago, and I can't see any reason why it's changed much since. As a matter of fact, I think even when they were called in before the government a couple of years ago, they made reference to it in kind of a different manner, but to me it amounted to the same thing where they beat up on the suppliers big time.
Hmm.
And then, like I say, they used to have suppliers like, the end shelves and other shelves that were ideal for eye contact with customers. They used to have to pay some kind of a price or offer some kind of a deal on something to the major chain in order to get those facings.
Right.
Unbelievable, but that's the
Wow.
way the business evolved, and that's what they do. So, I, you Doug Ford in Ontario brought up about Campbell Soup and what Campbell Soup is doing with
Hmm.
the on its own labeling. It's not, he said it's not made in Canada anymore, and he went on about it. And I'm going to call them out right now. I'll tell you. And what was it? He said it reads on the label now, recipe from Canada,
Yeah.
or a
Right.
Canadian recipe, or based on a
Canadian
Canadian
recipe.
recipe. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's really desperate. That's a really desperate label. And you know what? I mean, for our viewers as well. I mean, there's still a lot of people ask themselves, well, what's the difference between product of Canada and made in Canada? And I read it very quickly, and product of Canada is that 98% of the total cost that went into producing the product, which is inclusive of ingredients, processing, and labor. Okay, so it has to get to that 98% in order for you to put a product of Canada sticker on that, which is what a consumer would like to see, right? And then made in Canada is essentially 51% of Canadian content, and it's processed in Canada, meaning the last substantial change to the product occurred in Canada. And the label has to include a qualifier as well, such as made in Canada from domestic or imported products, and it has to be very clear. But you and I both still see labeling that'll try to skew that last one on the bottom in terms of made in Canada or prepared in Canada, and Campbell Soup is one of them. And and then as a consumer, that's what I look for, is product of Canada. And if I can't get that assurance it's a product of Canada, then I'll look at alternatives to product of Canada, maybe made in Canada, or made or imported from some other country, typically from the fruit perspective, fruit and vegetables. I'll try to avoid American product, but you know what? Sometimes you just can't get around that. And if there's something that you need to purchase from an American manufacturer or distributor, you know what? Very rarely I'll do it. So I'd say 1 out of 20 of my purchases might be an American product. So a lot of people will say, well, how do you do it? It must be so difficult. Actually, it's not. It just becomes part of your shopping habits, and it's very easy to learn it over the first couple of weeks when you're shopping. But then it becomes second nature when you know what you're looking for. So yeah, that what irks me the most, Gary, is right. The context of this entire segment is when you have major retailers trying to cheat, trying to cheat the consumer, and as a matter of fact, disrespect our intelligence as consumers by trying to cheat. That irks me to no end.
And not only that, but they're hurting local producers. You know, and
Yes. Yeah.
because people just either give up, they don't trust or whatever. But it hurts the reputation, it hurts the business flow, the bottom line for local farmers and others who are selling products into, whether it's grocery stores, and that seems to be the area where we're really noticing it, but I'm sure it's been happening in other branches of retail as well, that if there are Canadian equivalents, it's really hurting their chances when you're pushing this kind of stuff, you know. And I think about the guy south of the border with his hats and how he's gone on about, make America great again. And where was he getting his hats? What label did you find in those hats when he was handing them out? The first time around,
in that White House display case with all those beautiful hats, beautiful color and whatever else. Guess where they're made, right, Gary?
Yeah. So it starts at the highest level.
The irony of just that. Here, sir, take off, or you'll see some of these interviews with some of Orange's supporters, like, we want to support America, make America great and bring manufacturing back here and really improve our economy, yada, yada, yada. And, sir, where did you get that cap? Well, I bought it from the corner store. Well, let's have a look at what it says inside. Made in China. It's like, it's just, I don't know. The irony floors me, Gary. I'll stop there before I say something I'll be sorry for.
And coming up in our next segment, this flows into the next segment as well. Yeah. When we zero in on what's been happening with the liquor boycott. So I think we'll wrap this up. And you know what? Before we do, we'll wrap this up. If you're finding that the store where you're shopping is doing this kind of thing, take the time, go home, go on the web, find the Canadian Food Inspection Agency website, or just type in on the federal government website, consumer complaint, and link through and make sure that you file some kind of a complaint. Not all of them are being investigated, and I would imagine not all of them are being reviewed, but they do take a handful and away they go with it. So do it, because the only way we're going to get changes and start holding these companies more accountable and forcing them to become a little more transparent with their customers and treat their customers, as loyal customers, because for most we are loyal customers, then that's the only way it's going to change. We have to start putting feet to the fire. And that's one of the main tools that we have at our disposal at the moment. So let's do it. And we'll move on to segment 2 in a minute. Just want to point out, if you're watching later and you're normally watching on Facebook, when we went live, an error message popped up from Facebook through the link that we use to go out to Facebook. And it popped up just before we actually went into the actual beginning of the stream. And I very quickly posted the YouTube links, but I know a lot of the people who watch on Facebook really don't like using YouTube, and they don't like having to log into YouTube or set up an account with Google to log into YouTube to make a comment. So apologize for that. I don't know what happened, but I've got this big yellow triangle over here in the corner of my screen, and it just popped up and said an unexpected error occurred. it would have been nice for it to occur earlier, maybe even when I was double checking earlier today. But no. That's always the way it goes. But you know what? We roll with the punches.
The show must go on.
That's right. It's all in the game. All right. So just before we get into the other side of the discussion here, I just want to bring up something. Montreal-based Web Hosting Canada, WHC, is offering a back-to-school special for anyone looking to start a website, launch an online business, or really just step up their game when it comes to online presence. And it is really a good deal. They're offering their Web Pro plan for just $2.99 a month for 1 year. And that includes web hosting, plus a free domain for a year, AI-powered website builder, professional email accounts, and much more. Click on the affiliate link in the description below to sign up or get more information on this limited time offer. And I believe it's sometime in the next week, 2 weeks, that in fact that offer will expire. So jump in there now and take advantage of it. That's a really good deal. $2.99 a month for a year. And that's a free domain tied in with everything else. Wow, really, really good deal. And by the way, I am a WHC customer, have been for 4.5 years. Really very happy with the service I've received. They're rock solid and very, very attentive to customers when you have an issue. So check them out.
Oh,
all right.
Good to know. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, now for our next segment. Canadians have been asked to and are buying and drinking local, supporting Canadian brewers and distillers. Some provinces have continued to urge boycotting of U.S. spirits. Most provincial liquor and agencies have removed American spirits and wine from sale. The U.S. launches trade war against us. Where do you stand on the issue? Is support now starting to fade, or is it dividing consumers? Gary?
I stand firmly on the issue. I don't want to see a bottle or even a cork hinting that bottles are around of any American wine or any American spirits. And for that matter, for those who, I guess, prefer American beer, any hints of American beer either. And when at some point it does creep back in, I'm done. I'm over with it.
Here, Gary, I want to see how upset you are. I don't see you.
Oh yeah, right. I was getting to that, but then you threw that question at me, and of course I'm gone.
Yeah, I know. There you are. Okay, right. Where were you? I want to see that face of yours.
But I'm done. I am so done and over it. The more I think about it on a daily basis, the more resolve I get that there's no way I am even stepping foot across that border. Now, I'm at some point maybe flying over there at 35, 40,000 feet. That's fine. And just hope that I get from point A to point B without having to make a stop for whatever the emergency or something in between.
Right.
Certainly, if I'm planning a flight or a trip, and they say, well, you're flying into Washington or someplace and changing. No, you get me a direct flight or loop me around somehow. Don't give me a flight going into anywhere in the United States. Done.
Yeah, same here.
And as I've said before, I've rediscovered some Canadian whiskeys, for example, that I haven't had for a number of years. And I've discovered a couple of new whiskeys, and I've even found some new scotches, that come in from Britain and in Scotland and Ireland.
Which you happily introduced me to. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome. My pleasure. But as far as you could put a case of American bourbon in front of me and thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Take it back. Don't want it. Want nothing to do with it. And I am still really not happy with Saskatchewan and Alberta for caving in so quickly and bringing it back there. BC, wasn't really happy with BC. They took a novel approach to it, banning liquor from red states, which essentially would take care of the bourbon industry for sure, but allowing others. Why would you allow American wine from California in when you have the Okanagan and you have Ontario?
Niagara region,
yeah. The wines from the Okanagan, top shelf.
Yeah.
And Ontario wines, good. And in some other regions, like micro climates, where they're starting to grow some grapes and getting some wines, good. Yeah. But don't rave to me about a California wine, because you know what? They can't top. I'm sorry. The more I sip Canadian wines, and I just wish, first of all, our SAQ here in Griffintown is way too small. You don't have a variety at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I do countless surveys. Every couple of months they send a survey, and that's the first thing I jump on. But also, I really wish Quebec, I know you're promoting Quebec products, and I get it. I totally understand it. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. And Quebec, there are some Quebec wines now starting to come into their own.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many really good wines from the Okanagan and Ontario that we could be experiencing in this province that we're not. And I think, let's open it up. Come on.
Well, that's due to the trade barriers that are still in place today, correct?
Some of it, and some of it's political.
I knew you were going to say that. No, you're right.
It is what it is.
Well, Manel and I have very often crossed into Ontario just to be able to get at some of the wines that are prevalent to the rest of the country. I mean, I can go into Ontario and buy BC wines.
Yep.
I can't get it here, but I can get them in Ontario. And I've taken numerous trips to Niagara-on-the-Lake and did wine tours and brought home cases of wine. Excellent wine. I'm not a wine connoisseur. Typically buy this to serve to guests that come to visit us. And we've had some wine connoisseurs amongst those people, and they just love the quality of the wines, whether it's red, whether it's white, whether it's rosé, even their ice wines. Their ice wines are actually award-winning in Europe, if you can believe it. So a lot of great products here, On a personal side, speaking to Kentucky and bourbon, a good quality bourbon has been my poison of choice. Again, it's, when we have friends and guests come over and, we don't drink a whole hell of a lot, but it's premium bourbon. Take a wild guess where that premium bourbon is right now, Gary. It's sitting in a dark cupboard. I have not touched it since January. It's collecting dust, and it's going to continue collecting dust at minimum for the next 3.5 years. We'll see what happens after that. Yeah. And as you said, Gary, there are other things that I'm discovering. Canadian spirits, Canadian whiskey, which I had forgotten about. Trying them again. Scottish whiskey. You introduced me to a very nice blend, and it's nice, and you learn to appreciate something beyond what you're typically used to, being bourbon. Mm-hmm. I can recount a story back in December. I went out with a bunch of buddies of mine to a pretty established restaurant here in Montreal. And there was 8 of us, and of course we want to do a shot. And one of my buddies asks the waitress if we can get a round of Jack Daniels, and she looks at him and goes, "We don't sell that stuff here anymore." I mean, quote unquote, we don't sell this stuff here anymore. And this was back in December, believe it or not. This was just before Christmas, and then that was kind of mentioned then. They had the stock on shelf, but they just didn't want to sell it. I guess they saw what was coming. And then back in June, we went to another establishment, and sure enough, they basically said, "Nope, don't stock that anymore. Can't offer it to you." And just this past weekend, we had some friends come visit us from California, and we took them out to a restaurant, and he asked for a cocktail that had bourbon in it, and the lady looked at him and goes, "Sir, we don't sell bourbon here in this restaurant anymore." And after he ordered something else with Canadian spirit in it, and he looked at us and he goes, "You know what? We heard that this was happening in California, that this was happening in Canada, and some regions in Canada are no longer offering and serving American alcohol to people in restaurants or selling it to them at the liquor stores." And he goes, "We just heard that this was something going on. We didn't realize that this was actually going on." And that's where I kind of explained to him a little bit about the Elbows Up movement, a little bit about the Buy Canadian movement, and that the leaders in our provinces initially had basically banned all alcohol sales in their provinces, which pretty much ended up being all of Canada. And you know what he said to me? What Tony said? He goes, "I am so sorry to hear this, and I'm absolutely ashamed and disgusted. This is an American citizen." And he didn't realize how deeply the rhetoric, the policies of the American government was actually scarring their Canadian neighbors. And it took him about the entire supper to really come out of that doldrum of realizing what his government and what his government was doing, not just to Canada, but what they were doing internationally. So it was a pretty it was a little bit of an emotional moment for myself as well, to actually see somebody say, "Oh my God, this is so shameful," And but that's just the way it is. You know what? Restaurants will not serve bourbon, and if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, and she said it with a smile, I wouldn't have believed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. U.S. spirit shipments to Canada have fallen by roughly 2/3. Wine exports even more. Smaller operators like Kentucky bourbon makers are bearing disproportionate damage. Oh well. And Canadian boycott also denting our hospitality sectors that depend on robust and diverse alcohol supply. But that's a statement that's being made, but I wonder just how much of a dent it's having, And that's not the first time I've heard somebody say about being in a restaurant or in a bar and asking for something that was American, and they say, "No, we don't sell that anymore."
And they say it with pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, is it really denting the hospitality sectors that much? I don't think so, personally. The bars and you go out to a restaurant, there's still people having drinks. And if the foot traffic is dropping off, it's more because of inflation than it is really the fact that they don't sell Jack Daniels anymore.
Well, you know what? A well-trained waiter or server or bartender will offer equal or even better alternatives to the bourbon. And if the individual wants a drink, he's going to want some kind of a whiskey, and they'll offer him a premium whiskey. So from the sale perspective, I don't think they're going to lose the sale on a drink, because the individual is going to buy a drink. Now, is that individual not going to go back into a bar or a restaurant because they no longer sell American spirits? I find that very, very hard to believe, Gary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of Canadians are discovering just how good our homegrown wines and spirits are. And there are some smaller distillers across the country who are producing what appeared to be extremely good product. And of course, some of it, if they were producing it in the, the southeastern states where the bourbon is produced and met a number of regulations, if you will, guidelines that are laid down, they could be classed as bourbon. But because they're not in that area and they're not subjected to these guidelines, even though we know what the guidelines are, they can't really, technically, they can't call it bourbon.
Call it bourbon, correct.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I question that last bullet point as to just how accurate that is. I think it's been the biggest thing for a lot of the small craft distilleries and even like breweries and wineries has been getting the product to package their goods, especially like the cans, the aluminum cans. It's not so much the aluminum can itself as it is the top. Most of the small craft brewers were buying those tops. They're specially made at a plant in the U.S. or whatever. And they were stuck buying the can. The aluminum can. There was one supply chain I heard where the aluminum can came from Quebec, went to the States to have the top put on, and then came back.
Right.
Yeah. So apparently there is at least one company now that's moving quickly, pivoting into making the tops here, and as we should be. Why have that going back and forth like that's another part of the whole supply chain issue, how tightly interwoven our supply chains have become through convenience more than anything else, I guess. Although I don't know how convenient it is to make a can, ship it over, top it, and then bring it back and sell it. To me, that extra shipping is adding cost, I would think. But then,
look, inevitably those costs get transferred to you and I.
Yep,
no matter
exactly.
which way you slice it. I mean, companies are there to make a profit and to make money and to sustain their profit margins come hell or high water. That's exactly what they're going to do. Maybe you and I are not going to see those costs passed on to us as consumers in the immediate, but it will be a slow trickle, and lo and behold, all of a sudden you're paying $2 or $3 more for something that you wouldn't have expected, right? So it's a slow drip for sure.
And I watched about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, an interview with the head of the U.S. Distillers Council. And he was saying, come on, folks, like, ask your provincial agencies to start stocking American liquor again, and blah, 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 It's all good. We really appreciate your business. We really want your business, and we're all good friends, and this will all be, bygones will be bygones once the whole trade issue is resolved.
You think so, huh?
No. And the other part of it is, again, it's not Canadians they're looking for, the same as the hospitality industry and especially in the border states. It's not that they miss Canadians, they miss our freaking money.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
And you get the same sentiment from the U.S. ambassador to Canada.
He's a horse's ass.
Yeah, woe is me the whole time, right? And then you look at the senators and the governor of Kentucky. Woe is me. Although the governor of Kentucky was pretty was much more eloquent in terms of his delivery and critical of his government and not blaming Canadians for boycotting, but the senators of Kentucky, I mean, they were the same as anybody else. So hats off to the governor where he did recognize where the problem was, and not blaming Canadians for not purchasing, But at the end of the day, woe is me. I'm sorry, and I think we talked about this before. You know what? Um, you punched us in the nose, and what do you want us to do? Stand there and wait for the next punch, or are we allowed to punch back? And when we punch back, you don't like it. Well, I'm sorry. That's unfortunately not the way our world works. Gary, I can't hear you.
Okay, there we go.
You're back.
I want to close this segment with none other than Ontario Premier Doug Ford. I'm sure there isn't anyone in the country who has not watched at least part of this clip, but kind of sums it up in a whole lot of ways. And this goes not necessarily against a U.S. producer. This is a multinational producer based in France, I believe, and they're closing their Crown Royal bottling plant in small town Ontario. It's about 150, 200 jobs that have been there for.
South, are they? They're moving it south, aren't they?
Yeah. Across the line, and it's they're saying it all has to do with economics, and it's an older plant. Like apparently, it's been there 100 years. That the Crown Royal will still be distilled here in Canada, so it's a Canadian, but it's going to be bottled in the U.S. Well, you know what? You just did it yourself in from my perspective, because not that I'm a big fan of Crown Royal, but I will have a sip of it. But if you want to play those games, I don't care if you're based in France or where you're based. I want the Canadian product, and I want it bottled in Canada with Canadians employed. But anyway, this is Ford, and again, he gets a little emotional and a little over the top, but he gets a point across. And so here we go. Take it away, Premier Ford.
LCBO is the largest customer in North America. More than California, more than Texas, more than all of them. LCBO, the people of Ontario, have made Crown Royal, Diageo, that has Smirnoff's, a whole bunch of other stuff, the largest. So can you imagine a board, right, sitting around, or even a kitchen table? Are you ready for this, guys? They're sitting around and said, okay, how's South America doing? They're doing okay. How's Europe? Yeah. How's North America? Okay, everything's good. Oh, let's target our largest customer. Who targets their largest customer? To put it in perspective, $740 million, $750 million. The people of Ontario support this company. And their payroll is 16, maybe $17 million. So you're jeopardizing $740 million worth of business for what? $17 million, and you're going to hurt a community? You're going to make these people struggle that they can't pay rent? They aren't going to pay a mortgage? They barely put food on the table when there's not too many companies in that small town? What, have you lost your mind? Like, I think they're a few fries short of a Happy Meal, these people. They're sitting around absolutely just smug as they come. They're hurting Ontario residents. They're hurting the people that work at Crown Royal. So you know something, a message to the CEO in France: you hurt my people, I'm going to hurt you. You're going to feel the pain in February when these people don't have a paycheck. And I'm going to stand up for the people of Ontario, and I encourage all of Canadians, all of Ontarians, stand up for the people, because you don't know if you're next. But the thing that ticks me off, I get it. I get that companies move back and forth. But what I don't get, when you're someone's largest customer in North America, you're going after the largest customer. You know something? I always say smart people aren't too smart, and you guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers for doing this. So, you know something? I found a bottle, and I don't even drink, of Crown Oil, right? I see that Crown Oil. I saw it at home. So this is what I think about Crown Oil. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing. Start supporting companies that make whiskey here by Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other.
Quite the message.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? It's a dramatic way of getting his point across, and Mr. Ford is extremely emotional when you do piss him off for just cause. But you know what? That pouring of that whiskey is very much a sentiment of a lot of people in Canada, and it's not just pouring whiskey out of a bottle. It's right across the board. Whether you're looking at groceries, whether you're shopping for fuel for your car, avoiding American-owned, gas stations, for example. It's not just a whiskey. That's a symbolic gesture of how a lot of Canadians are feeling right now with any type of a product from the United States, or when as Premier Ford mentioned, a bag of hammers, when they make poor business decisions just for the sake of moving something, which this one smells very, very politically motivated. So good on him. With every passing week, he says something that really, really allows me to get further behind this bandwagon. He's been amazing so far.
Yep, and I'll say it again just to put a little into some people where I've had discussions with in the comment section. But here's the thing. The feds on the con side should be talking to Doug Ford, because your leader, I don't know if he's going to be able to pivot in a manner that he needs to pivot, or if it's, if it's going to go downhill. And then we look at late January and a hot time. I think it's being held in Calgary, if I'm not mistaken, the leadership review. So anyway, that's just putting that out there to the universe. Who knows? Again, as someone said, his government, he's been involved in scandals. And I said, yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. But we know what we're getting. But when push comes to shove, he's a street fighter. And look at how he's been maintaining elbows up all through this trade war. Mm-hmm. From the very first day the first tariff was fired. Doug Ford has been there and willing to take on our, I won't say our friend, the guy in the Oval Office. He's willing to take him on. So full marks to him in that respect. You know what you're getting. Anyway, it's all absolutely out there. It's all on his sleeve. So I thought that was a good way to end the segment. And
thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was thought-provoking and entertaining, to say the least. So before we move on to the final segment of the night, I just have one thing I want to pass along. Looking for a new internet provider? Here in Quebec, check eBox for fiber to the home service. And right now, guess what? They're offering, what are they offering? Their unlimited 500 meg service for $50 per month plus 1 month free with the code you'll find on their homepage. So click the affiliate link below for more details. And if you miss out on that offer, come back and click the link again using one of the promo codes, one of the 2 promo codes down there listed below for a special offer. I'm an eBox customer, and I'm happy.
And I'm also an eBox customer, and I am very happy as well. So give it a try, guys. Their service is excellent, and their capacity and their uptime is fabulous. So give it a go. Anyway, Gary, let's get on to our final segment.
Yep.
Well, Gary, the Prime Minister has pitched a bold new Buy Canadian push. Also, fresh funding for businesses hit by U.S. tariffs. Is it protectionism, patriotism, or is it political survivor?
And isn't it about time the federal, provincial, and municipal levels of government had solid Canada First procurement policies in place? If we've learned nothing else, now is the time for that. And last Friday, Prime Minister Mark Carney laid out his plan for all of this. And on Monday, he was in St. John's and laid out what one of the tariff relief measures will mean for Atlantic Canadian businesses. And it was about $80 million that he laid out in relief. But there are other aspects to the plan as well, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But I thought what we would do to really kickstart our discussion is listen to the Prime Minister in St. John's. He did more of a summary of the overall plan than what Friday's announcement was. And I thought that it was better, a little easier to grasp. So let's listen to the Prime Minister and then we'll come back and have a chat about it.
But we've learned a lesson over the course of the last several months, is that our relationship with the U.S. is changing. And we can't rely on our most important trading relationship as we once did. You know, we can't control what other nations do, but we can control our destiny. So we're focusing on what we can control and building our economic strength right here at home. Just last Friday in Mississauga, I announced a series of new and comprehensive measures to protect, build, and transform our strategic industries so they can prosper in this new global economy. And the first thing we focused on was measures so that Canadian workers can develop the skills for those new high-paying careers that those nation-building projects that Premier and I referenced will create. And then we go to those industries and we give them the opportunity to pivot to new products and markets with a $5 billion new strategic response fund. The third thing is we've introduced a comprehensive Buy Canadian policy. So we're modernizing all of Canada's public procurement to prioritize public and Canadian suppliers. Because it's time that we become our own best customer, buying Canadian to build Canadians. So your government will buy in this province and across this country. Fourth, you know, there's some businesses that are very acutely impacted by these U.S. tariffs, and they need immediate liquidity relief. They need immediate funds in order to adjust. And that's the case for the steel and aluminum industries. These are world-class industries. But they're enduring punishing U.S. tariffs. And these impacts are being felt far and wide, including out here on the East Coast. So our liquidity facilities give businesses the support and the time that they need to position themselves for the future. And lastly, this will be my principal focus today, we're strengthening supports for our medium and small businesses. In March, we announced the Regional Tariff Response Initiative, $450 million across the country to support SMEs directly or indirectly impacted by those U.S. tariffs. And the idea is so these companies can step up and diversify their products, diversify their markets, adopt new technologies, become more competitive. And last week, I announced that we'd increase the funding for this from $450 million to $1 billion. Not just that, we'd extend the repayment periods for up to 9 years and provide new non-repayable contributions of up to $1 million across all sectors, so from seafood through to IT.
And that pretty much wrapped up the overview. And so there's a lot there to unpack. And, well, let's kind of take a look at it here. Let's see. I've got some points I can bring up on the screen. I think I can. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, that gets rid of that. And I have to grab some glasses to find where it went on here. Oh, okay, I'll do it the easy way. Move that, and we'll do this. Oh, we can't do that. All right. Now
let's talk through it.
Yep. I just like to know what the heck I did with what I crafted here. But anyway, okay. So he was announcing the $80 million for assistance to Canadian or Atlantic Canadian businesses. But that's part of a larger package, and it will be regional in nature. But some of the other things, like the biggest thing is the Buy Canadian procurement. Right. Federal agencies must now prioritize, and we'll just get rid of that screen too while we're at it, must now prioritize Canadian suppliers. And foreign contracts must include Canadian content.
Duh, exactly. That is such a no-brainer. Like, why does it require... never mind, I won't get into it. But yes, duh, this is a no-brainer.
What are we doing? What are we doing to ourselves? And... yeah, okay. I just find it really, really hard to believe that has to be promoted in this fashion. And he called upon the provinces and municipalities to move in the same direction. No, you don't kind of hold their hand and pull them along. You tell them, you're damn well going to do it. Do you want to, collect a reasonable level of taxes from businesses that are flourishing, people who are working? How are you going to grow your tax base? Well, you get people employed, you get businesses up and running and have them successful. Why do you have to prompt provincial governments and municipalities to do something that just makes common sense?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get it. But anyway, and with the federal government, I hope he really clamps down on the departments. Really clamps down on them. And Poilievre the other day mentioned about the deal the BC Ferries made with the Chinese shipbuilder. Mm-hmm. And there's a loan involved there as well, which I found kind of interesting. But Premier Eby said that, well, they can get them to us faster and at a more reasonable price. Well, with all due respect, Premier Eby, how long has your government and the previous government known that you needed to replace a couple of these ferries, that they were long since past their shelf life? Mm-hmm. And now, all of a sudden, because you're at a point where the demand on those ferries and those routes has been growing, and these ferries can't keep up with it, and you need something in a hurry, you should have hurried up 5 years ago.
Yeah. We got plenty of shipbuilding capability in the East.
Absolutely. And they, anyway, I don't buy the argument that's being made for these Chinese ferries. Now, if the Chinese had removed their tariffs on canola, Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a fair exchange, at least for now. But no, they didn't. They upped their tariffs on canola. And what are we doing? Well, we're starting to find alternate customers for the canola, much to the surprise of the Chinese. Anyhow, but that sort of thing, I agree that deal should be canceled, and that everything is in place or almost in place, ready to go. Then there's a shipyard here in Canada that I'm sure will be able to take on that project without any real issue. So it makes no sense that we've done things like that. The Strategic Response Fund is $5 billion. It's flexible support for tariff-hit industries, and primarily steel, autos, lumber, aluminum. The auto relief, the 2026 EV mandate waived, and a 60-day review of the whole mandate or program is underway. Sales are falling off. They're tanking on electric vehicles. Hybrid vehicles are doing okay. They're actually, I saw a stat earlier today that indicated that sales on the hybrid vehicles were up.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. But the hybrid non-plug-in are actually outselling the hybrid plug-ins. So yeah, that's where the Canadians seem to be going. The hybrid model where the battery gets charged by the car itself as it's rolling along, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes a whole lot of sense. Because guess what? Until you figure out a way to sculpture wood into round wheels that will drive on the roads in a reasonable fashion, you're going to have rubber. We're going, these environmentalists, and thank God Trudeau is out,
right?
Because he was like La La Land.
La La Land, yeah.
Yeah, because
visionary, yes, but you're 50 years out. It's like we're not even close to what he was actually. I think close to what he's actually planning. Exaggerating.
I really think you're being too kind, actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'll let you call him visionary if you want, but you can't just shut off the oil taps. There's too much of it in our daily lives. So it's not going away anytime soon, no matter what you mandate. And this electric vehicle mandate thing, come on.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Look at what we lost on the electric vehicle battery plant.
Oh, the Norvolt. Yeah, the Norvolt plant here. What a disaster.
Yeah. Who would commit the kind of money that the federal and Quebec provincial government committed to that plant at a time when the sales of electric vehicles were starting to drop off?
Well, didn't Trudeau commit funding just before they were heading into an election? I think he did.
Yeah, you're probably not far off there, Eddie. Yeah. And
what a mistake.
Yep. And we're going to recover some of our money, but we're out still. The last tally I saw was about $270 million provincially.
Wow.
And and then you've got Bozo's stock, Tesla, tanking.
Mm-hmm.
Their sales have gone right into the tank, big time. And rightly so. The guy's a goof. And apparently somebody, I didn't see who it was, but apparently he's been knocked off the throne as the world's richest man.
Yeah, I think it's the CEO of Oracle who's now on top of the heap.
There you go. So anyway, that whole thing needs to be reviewed, and I think it needs to maybe be shelved for a while.
Yeah.
There are too many other important things that we need to be turning our attention to in the agriculture sector and biofuel. 370 million for canola-based biofuels, and the APP limit, and I still have not been able to figure out what that is, raised to $500,000. It must have something to do with the production of it. I have one more source I was going to, and then we ran into that issue with Facebook. Yeah. Workforce, retraining for 50,000 workers, new AI job matching platform and sector innovation fund. And yeah, there's no doubt that AI is going to move a lot of people to the unemployment line in the next 2 to 5 years. As our economy and as our society shifts
and adjusts
to what you can do with AI and what will be really purposeful with AI, there will be collateral damage to the workforce, no doubt. And so the retraining, but the retraining that would be available for starting a new career in AI is, I think, a great idea, because there will be job growth opportunities in AI. It's a matter again of balancing everything out, no doubt. So, and then we have the small and medium-sized enterprises, businesses, and loans, and the Business Development Bank loan limit raised to $5 million. I wonder if we could get a loan, Eddie. $5 million.
We can do a lot with that.
Yeah, exactly. Tariff grants doubled to $1 billion. Tariff grants doubled to $1 billion. Here's one that'll be of interest too, coming back to the workforce side of it. EI supports severance retention, waived wait week plus 20 weeks EI for long tenured workers, 190,000 to be affected by that. Regional, well, the first regional amount was handed out on Monday, 80 million earmarked for Atlantic Canadian firms. So, let's look at the bigger picture. Is Buy Canadian patriotism or protectionism that could escalate tensions? You know what? I don't think we can escalate tensions any more than what they already are when it comes to dealing with trade with the United States and some of the other trading partners we've dealt with over the last number of years. I don't think that it would escalate tensions any more than what they are. Yeah. I think Buy Canadian is patriotism and should be.
Yeah. And you know what? It's protectionism, and why not?
We're protecting our own economy and our jobs.
I think the last 8 to 10 years, even beyond that, we've just opened our kimono and we allowed other economies just to take advantage of us, just walk all over us. And you know what? There's a lot more work that has to be done. I don't care if it's a Liberal government, Conservative government, or NDP government. There's a lot more work to be done, and I think this is a great first start. Could more have been done? Absolutely. But I think it's a very, very good, very, very good start leading into the reconvening of Parliament opening up next week, I believe, Gary. And, at the same time, we're going to be expecting a federal budget very shortly, which will include all of these wonderful programs that Carney is going to be rolling out. So I'm very encouraged to see that great start, and we'll see what the next 4 to 6 weeks actually show us, right?
Yeah, the budget will be really, really interesting to watch, because even addressing the caucus meeting in Edmonton today, he made mention of the fact that we're going to find ways of working smarter and speeding things up and eliminating duplication. So we all know that that's a code word for some slash and burn. And there were a couple of other code words in the speech as well, which leads to there will be job cuts at the federal level.
Yeah.
And when you have a federal civil service that doubled over the 10 years of the Trudeau reign, and our level of service has deteriorated.
Something isn't working.
Right.
Well,
Right.
we've been talking, I don't know, it's been a few years now since you and I met, Gary. I think one of the first things we always open up our Saturday coffee discussions with was how much fat is there in the government that needs to be trimmed? That was pretty much a predominant conversation every week you and I had. So, you know what? If it smells of it, I'm welcome to it, to tell you the truth.
It's going to have to come, Eddie. The money that we're laying out, and I get the sell job is we're investing in our future. And for the first time, you can actually see if we follow the plan that we're seeing at the moment, you can see where it actually is an investment instead of really a photo op.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And nothing really happening in the long run other than some fly-by-night company going under and there's another $1 million, $2 million, whatever, write-off at the municipal, provincial, or federal level. So, but here's an interesting point when you think about all of this. Will the package that's been proposed here or laid out strengthen long-term resilience, or will it just patch the tariff pain?
Yeah, well, you know what? That's a good question. The only thing I can say to that, Gary, is I think in this particular case, time will tell. The trending of what Prime Minister Carney's office has accomplished in a short time frame, if you want to say, and what it continues to put forward in terms of transparency and what the plans are, to me, it seems like the outlook seems to be positive in terms that it's not just going to be a stopgap solution. Especially a couple of weeks ago when we had himself and his entire team fly out to Europe to shore up and stabilize a relationship with the major powers in Europe, both from forging economical agreements and paths forward and shoring up our military alliances. So all these little things that he's been doing add up to something significant, I think. So I don't think it's a stopgap situation here that we're dealing with. It's not finding an opportunity to step up to a microphone and maybe get some short clip snippets for people to look at. I really think that he's being transparent and communicating exactly what he's saying he's going to do. I think time will tell. I mean, very similarly, you look at Premier Ford. He's been doing what he's been preaching. So, I'm hopeful that these two individuals, as they continue to work together as part of Team Canada with the other premiers, that they're going to continue doing what they're saying. So, in this particular case, Gary, I think time will tell.
I think there is a very different approach here than what we saw with COVID and some of the programs that came out, relief programs for COVID. There was no long-term goal coming out of it. It was like, let's just get over this hump and get everybody back on their feet, and then it'll all work out. Whereas at the moment, anyway, I'm seeing a plan on paper, and there are long-term goals, but we also have this trade war that we have to deal with. But the way it's being purposed, the trade war relief is being purposed, a lot of it does seem to be reinvesting in people, helping businesses to ride out this part of it, but also setting up the atmosphere, if you will, for long-term investment and growth, and on our terms, in our own country with our own products, and developing our own products, goods, and services to serve the 40 million people that we are, and growing, and also being able to export some of that as well. And just on that note, Eddie, I watched a video yesterday about the Avro Arrow and everything around it. Those planes, according to the information in this video, the very first Avro Arrow would still be about 1.8% faster than the F-35. And the second version of the Avro Arrow that they were working on, which would fly around Mach 3, would be more than double that over the F-35.
Gary, this was late 50s design, and it actually came to fruition in the early 60s. That's mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling.
I sat there and just watched it in total disbelief, and to think that, well, yes, there were cost overruns with the program. It was running into cost overruns, as you do when you start something like that. You start from scratch. You're going to run into that issue.
So what's the message here? Investment in Canadians will allow us to
keep our talent at home.
Keep our talent at home and be successful. And innovative.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the message.
Yeah. So I don't think this plan as it sits right now is just to patch tariff pain. I think it's there. Yes, that's going to be the first wave result. But overall, the long-term goal is, again, coming back around to making us take advantage of the talent we have in this country and grow our economy on our terms so that we are not so dependent on a partner that has turned out to be totally...
Well, in a very ironic fashion, and I think you and I talked about this over a drink once, you know what? I'd like to see Canada succeed and at some point reflect back and ironically say, hey, Mr. Trump, thanks for being an a-hole and kicking us in our pants.
Yep.
That's what we needed. We just needed that heavy kick in the shins. I think he gave it to us. And we're moving on. We're rebuilding our country. And not that I want to thank him for anything, but if there's anything I'd like to thank him is for that, enabling our success today and moving forward.
And hopefully history will paint Carney in a favorable light as the right person in the job of Prime Minister at the right time. And to me, at this stage of the game, I don't care if it's liberal, conservative, New Democrat, even the bloc. Like, if it's the right person in the right position at the right time and we move forward as a country, then bonus. Bingo.
Well said.
We're bang on.
Well said.
So that's that. And with that, I think we shall call it a wrap on episode 50. Last week was our 1-year anniversary. Tonight, 50 episodes. It's mind-boggling in some respects.
Well, 50 plus if you look at the last-minute shows that we did because something new came up during the course of the week. So, happy anniversary, Gary.
Yeah, once again. And another milestone marked, as we said, Eddie. So thanks for being part of the conversation. And if you're watching later, let us know your thoughts. Leave a comment below. We do respond.
And remember to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, or like and share on Facebook. Those quick clicks really do help to get our stream channel and now our Facebook page exposed to more people just like you.
Before you say goodnight,
good night.
Before you, oh, all right. You already said goodnight. Damn.
Oh.
I just wanted to very quickly share one thing.
Oh.
So it's there for anybody watching after the fact. And where did my screen go? I'm having a tough time. I really need to go get my glasses. I really, really do. Okay, there we are, right there. Okay, so let's go into this. We are, like last week, we announced the launch of our Facebook page, and we're on YouTube, of course. And also, I'd like to let you know that as of yesterday, we are now available on Instagram and TikTok. Eddie, we've reached the big time. We have a TikTok page. So for Instagram and TikTok, it's at Night Talk Canada if you're looking for us. If you're looking for us on YouTube, again, Night Talk Canada, or at Night Talk Canada on YouTube, and Facebook, Night Talk Canada. So right now, that's where we are. Plus, we do have an account on X for Night Talk Canada. Not that there's been a lot of activity on there yet, but I will be focusing on that as we move into the shorts and reels and the TikToks. And also, I do have an account on Blue Sky and Threads, but sometime in the next month, Night Talk Canada will also have an account on Threads and Blue Sky. So we're really moving into the social media field. Really want to encourage more people to join in the conversations that we're having. And even if you can't join the live stream, then join after the fact and get engaged on any one of the social media platforms. So, hey, we're getting there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeehaw.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Now, one other thing to remember, you can watch this by tomorrow morning on YouTube, or you can watch a replay of the live version probably within the next hour, as soon as after we end here in a few minutes. And then we'll have a full version as well available on YouTube. And be watching for the shorts and the reels. And also it'll be on no, it won't be on Facebook because we couldn't get through to Facebook this week. But anyway, it's available. It's around. If you want to pop in, then have a look. And we apologize for whatever happened with Facebook, but I don't know what that error is. And I'll look into it tomorrow. So remember, Night Talk Canada returns in 7 days with the conversation we should be having. I'm Gary MacDonald.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night.